following program is classified G. It's suitable for all ages.
Tonight, with the Port City Commission bill passed in Parliament with a majority, Sri Lanka moves forward in attracting investors that would bring in economic incentives to a nation that's at dire straits with COVID-19 hammering all key industries. Can this national asset bring in economic prosperity? With the new bill coming into play, will the Port City become a catalyst to Sri Lanka's growth? Or will it be another white elephant? Good evening, I'm Mahesh Johnny, and this is where Other Derana and the Morning investigates. Hello everyone, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today on Investigates. Our fact-finding mission tonight turns to the Port City. The Colombo Port City controversy has reached a crossroad, and the coming few months will be more decisive than ever. Now, within 7 days of the tabling of the bill back in April, and despite the Sinhala and Tamil New Year holiday eating into most of that 7-day period, around 20 petitions were filed by various parties against the Colombo Port City Economic Commission bill. Now, the Supreme Court's special determination revealed by the Speaker on the 18th of May held that 25 clauses of the bill are inconsistent with the Constitution and that these clauses could be adopted only through a two-thirds majority in Parliament or a successful referendum. As you know, the government announced that it would not opt for a referendum and that it will make the recommended amendments instead, as per the special determination of the court's country's apex court, which was passed in Parliament after a 2-day debate. Against this backdrop, let us examine if the Port City bill brings Sri Lanka the expected economic benefits. Will it ensure that Sri Lanka's sovereignty is maintained, or would China hold sway on this newly built land off Colombo's coast? Can the Port City be made a boon for the nation, or will it become a playground for the elite? We investigate. From the onset, it was obvious that there was a certain lack of awareness about the Port City project and also misconceptions regarding the same. Port City Project Assistant Managing Director Tulsi Aluhehare emphasized when he was on Get Real last Monday that the government of Sri Lanka will be part of any and all agreements concerning investments in the Port City, and that the Commission will play a big role in this process.
Because this land of 269 hectares which was reclaimed, the land owner or the landlord is the government of Sri Lanka. In return for the investment by the Chinese-owned company, which has committed $1.4 billion investment, of which $1.1 billion had been already invested. In return for the consideration, Government of Sri Lanka has given a leasehold right for 43% of the 269, about 116 hectares. So now we need to monetize this 116 hectares. We are not going to be building on all that 116 hectares. So for us to monetize, we need to attract the right investors. Now when we do attract that primary investor, we will surrender our leasehold right.
He noted that since the Sri Lankan government will always be a party to any lease agreement within the Port City, Sri Lanka's territorial integrity and sovereignty are protected.
Even if you have a leasehold right, a 99-year leasehold right over a plot of land, you still need to apply to the commission, a commission which would be set up by an act of parliament. You need to apply for a commission for a license to operate within Port City, license to operate, and the commission will issue that license renewable with conditions. And if you breach that license, commission has the power to revoke that. So by way of this mechanism, and there's so much of oversight by the government, I'm not sure how people can mention that this can be a Chinese colony when government has so much oversight.
Further added that with the Sri Lankan government and the Commission having a great deal of oversight, there will be no room for any harmful act to take place within the port city, and that the government will have a say in almost all aspects of its operations. Speaking on the allegations that the port city would play host to money laundering activities due to having a separate administrative system, Aluvihari said that any jurisdictions can be a haven for money laundering if there are loose laws.
If the port city project is labelled as such, we are doomed to fail. So all the existing laws, anti-money laundering laws, that's prevention against money laundering, then prevention of terrorism financing laws, then financial transaction reporting laws. All these laws which is existent in Sri Lanka applies for port city. There is no exemption on that, and the central bank investigation unit, there's a financial services investigation unit, has jurisdiction.
In response to the allegations pertaining to money laundering and tax-related issues within the port city, State Minister of Money, Capital Markets and State Enterprise Reforms, Ajit Niwad Cabral, earlier said that since no changes have been made to the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, there will be no room for any act amounting to money laundering within the port city.
Port city is designed to be an international financial center. The last thing we want to do is to do money laundering. We want to make sure that people who come here to do business is able to do business with clean money, so they can be all comfortable in the fact that the regime here is for clean money as well as clean transactions. We are providing the entire network of services for them to do that, and Sri Lanka will ensure that all the laws that are for money laundering as well as terrorism financing prevention will be implemented. We have a very good regime in doing that, and we will continue to do that. And I can tell you that anyone who says that is not saying anything with any kind of a backing of the facts of the situation.
When queried about another allegation raised by those opposing the bill, like that the bill would not make it possible for Sri Lanka to properly collect tax revenue, Cabral denied, adding that before focusing on tax revenue, attention should be paid to attracting investments. He added that the bill has been prepared in a manner that facilitates to attract investments.
So our policy has been, from the time we came into office, to try and attract new forex inflows into the country, which are not adding to the debt burden of our nation. And that's a very important outcome that we are trying to establish here. So in order to ensure that we do that, we are making sure that overall Sri Lanka will be able to have as much as possible the foreign exchange coming into the country, and that we would be then able to have foreign direct investment that will make an impact in the growth of our nation. We are trying to add at least $4.5 billion to the GDP of our nation in the next 3 to 4 years. We want to add beyond that at least $15 billion in the next 10 years to be added to the GDP of our country. Now, you know that's a big challenge. But if we get it right and we have new investments coming in and there's new activity being created in this port city, we can achieve it. So that's the plan, and we are working towards that. And once that happens, it will be truly a turning point in the economic history of our country.
Meanwhile, earlier on, Thosi Aluvihari also said that the port city can bring prosperity to the country in more than one way and could also help resolve the economic hardship Sri Lanka is going through right now.
Port city, a special economic zone, the law is required to actually promote ease of doing business. Our doing business indicators, as per the World Bank, of 190 countries, we rank 99. And we have not improved in the last 5 years, right? So
99 means...
of 190 countries.
That means it's the difficulty.
Correct.
The lower you go down the index, it's very difficult to do business.
Correct. Like for instance, countries like India was about 132 in 5 years ago. Now they're 62.
they've improved.
Exactly. Similar improvements you can see in China. So what I'm trying to say is our doing business indicators are quite low. And there is competition for us to attract. Now you mentioned, Mahesh, look, why would an investor now come and look at Colombo? That why Sri Lanka, why Colombo question is quite important, because our doing business indicators are low. So what do we do? So the SEC law will provide that ecosystem that is required, ease of doing business for businesses to come and really set up in Port City. That is the differentiator between what we are trying to do, what the government is trying to do, is that improve some of those indicators, address some of those bottlenecks we have in rest of Sri Lanka in this Port City.
He also added that many countries, including India and Malaysia, have taken steps to change certain legal provisions in order to encourage investments, especially foreign investments. Among some of the laws that needs to be changed, according to Aluihare, are Sri Lanka's labour laws. Speaking on the benefit of Port City project, Minister of Energy and Co-Cabinet spokesman Uday Gammanpila said that Sri Lanka can expect a number of benefits, adding that the leasing of the lands of the port city is one of the main ways of generating income. He explained.
Firstly and foremostly, the project has already added 269 hectares to Sri Lanka's extent. Secondly, after reducing the common user facilities such as roads, buildable land area is 178 hectares. Out of that, 62 hectares will be with Sri Lankan government, and Sri Lanka can earn lease income by leasing those lands. Thirdly, China has already invested 1.4 billion US dollars, boosting investor confidence as well as stabilizing Sri Lankan currency exchange rate. Fourthly, when foreign companies invest in Port City, there will be a massive inflow of FDI, further stabilizing the exchange rate. Fifthly, Sri Lanka can earn by providing goods and services such as water, electricity, fuel, then janitorial services, repairs and maintenance, then of course food, supplies such as food, stationaries. So with that they can earn a huge income. There will be 60,000 job opportunities, mainly for professionals who will earn in foreign currency. Seventhly, Sri Lankans who are now work in different countries because of lack of job opportunities which would match their qualifications can now of course come back to Sri Lanka and serve the motherland. Therefore, this is a landmark project of Sri Lanka's Sri Lankan history.
However, certain trade union members said that one of the enactments that may not be applicable within the port city, according to the bill, is the termination of the Employment Workmen Special Provisions Act, and that it may have a direct impact on those who will be working within the city. Minister Gammanpila further admitted that there was a lot of drafting errors in the bill published by the government and that those have been rectified by the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, speaking of the flaws of the bill, Deshahitaishi Jatika Vyapara or National Patriotic Movement Secretary Wasantha Mandara, who has been vocal about the matter recently, also expressed similar sentiments, noting that the bill shows serious shortcomings on the part of those who drafted it.
පනත මගින් පේනවා මේ 50 සකස් කරන අයගේ තියෙන බරපතල අඩුපාඩුවක්. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ පනත හිම සමාජ අවධානයට ලක්වලා ඒ සියලු අදාළ පාර්ශව සමග සාකච්ඡා කරලා ගෙනවනම් මේ තරම් සංශෝධන ප්‍රමාණයක් මේකට තියෙන විදියක් නේ සංශෝධන 25ක් තියෙනවා. ඔය පොඩි සංශෝධන වචන වෙනස් කරන්න ටැක්ස් වෙනුවට රේට් කියලා දාන්න අන්න ඒ වගේ පොඩි සංශෝධන. නමුත් ඒ අනුත හදන්න මැදිහත් වෙච්ච කණ්ඩායමේ තියෙන දුප්පත්කම ලෙකින් වෙනවා.
He stressed that the bill is necessary and that the country should be able to reap the benefits of the port city, although this should happen in accordance with the constitution. Bandara added that there is no obstacle to proceed with the project after making the necessary amendments. He described the need for separate administrative mechanism for the port city.
කට්ටාටේ තමයි මේ විදිහට විශේෂ ආයෝජන කලාපයක් විශේෂ නීතියක් හැටියට ආයෝජන දිරිමත් කරන පනතක් ගෙනාවේ. ආයෝජන කලාප කොමිසම. එතකොට ඒකෙත් යම් නිශ්චිත භූගෝලීය අඳුනගත්ත කලාපයක යම් බලතල සහිත කොමිසමක් පිහිටුවා. එතකොට ඒකෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ආයෝජකයන්ගේ ගැටලු විසඳලා දිරිමත් කරන්න. එතකොට ඒ කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය ක්‍රමවේදය හරහා ගියොත් අවුරුදු 2-3ක් යනවා. ඒ අනුමැතිය ගන්නම ආයතන 15ක් විතර ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවා විවිධ ව්‍යාපෘති වලට. එතකොට ඒ නිසා මේ කොමිසම මැදිහත් වීමෙන් ඒවා සම්බන්ධීකරණය කරලා ඒ අනුමැතිය අරගෙන දීලා ඒ අවශ්‍ය සහන විධිමත් රටේ නීතියට අනුව දීලා ඒ ආයෝජන දිරිමත් කරන්න මෙහෙම කොමිසමක් පිටවන එක අත්‍යවශ්‍යයි. අපේ රටේ නඩුවක් දැම්මොත් මොනවාරි වාණිජ්‍ය ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇවිල්ලා වාණිජ්‍ය ආයතනයකට ගැටුමක් ඩිස්පියුට් එකක් ඇවිල්ලා අවුරුදු 2-3ක් යනවා ඒ නඩුව අවසන් වෙන්න. ඒතර මෙහෙම කිසි දවසක ආයෝජන දිරිමත් කරන්න බෑ රටක. දැන් මැලේසියාව වගේ රටක් ගත්තොත් අවුරුද්දකට ඇමරිකන් ඩොලර් මිලියන 20000ක විතර මිලියන 20ක විතර ආයෝජන එනවා. දැන් අපේ රටේ 1000ක් කියන්නේ ලොකු ගාණක්. ඒ හේතුව මේ පරිපාලන ක්‍රමවේදවල තියෙන උපත්කම ඒ වගේ තියෙන ආකාරය මෙහෙම විශේෂ ආයතනයක් අවශ්‍යයි මේ වගේ විශේෂ කලාපයක විදේශ ආයෝජන දිරිමත් කරන්න. මේ කොවිඩ් වසංගතයෙන් පස්සේ නැවත නැගිටීමේදී ලෝකේම ආර්ථික අවපාතයක් වෙන තත්ත්වයක් යටතේ විදේශ විනිමය රට ඇතුළට ගේන්න එවැනි ආයෝජන දිරිමත් කරන එක එතකොට විදේශ රැකියා ප්‍රමාණයක් රට ඇතුළේ නිර්මාණය වෙනවා. ඉතින් එතකොට දැන් ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අනුකූල නැති කරුණු වෙනස් කළ යුතුයිනේ. ආණ්ඩුව දැන් එකඟ වෙලා තියෙනවා මේ වෙනස්කම් ටික කරන්න. එතකොට මේ වෙනස්කම් ටික කරාම ඒ පනත ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අනුකූල බවට පත් වෙනවනේ. ඒ ආණ්ඩුව එහෙම වෙනස්කම් කරන්නේ නැතුව මේක බලහත්කාරයෙන් අර 19 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ සම්මත කරා වගේ සම්මත කරන්න හදනවා නම් ඒක වැරදි.
Well, one thing is clear, that we need a special provisions bill that would allow international investors to start doing business here in Sri Lanka and more so in the port city. Now, when we return, the views from the opposition. Welcome back everyone to Investigates. Tonight our focus is on the port city. As you saw earlier on, you heard from the members who are hoping to make this project a success. However, that task doesn't come without objection. Here's the rest of our investigation. Samagi Janabalavagiya parliamentarian Eran Vikramaratne, speaking of the court's determination, said that merely amending the bill is not adequate and that the process of making its amendments should also take place transparently. He also said that the government presenting a bill that was against the constitution is unacceptable.
The court basically looks at the constitutionality of a bill, right? And the court has ruled accordingly, saying that this bill is totally unconstitutional. So its verdict is that there are 9 clauses in the bill that need a referendum, right? And apart from those 9 clauses, there was also another 17 clauses which needed a two-thirds majority in Parliament. If the government basically agrees to all of that, right, then the bill becomes constitutional, right? And I think the government will agree to that, right? However, the role of Parliament is not looking at the constitutionality of the bill. The role of Parliament, right, the constitutionality has to be a given. Right? And the role of Parliament, right, is to really look at whether this bill is acceptable politically, socially and economically for the country. So the courts is one, Parliament is the other. The real question that we have to ask ourselves is, why did the government even think about presenting a bill which is so blatantly unconstitutional? There are very fundamental issues, right? And one of which is who actually owns this commission. The commission is a legal corporate entity, right? And that legal corporate entity should definitely be Sri Lankan owned or majority Sri Lankan owned, right? And Parliament, but we will move an amendment which we will suggest that the Parliament approves funding and that the government puts it into the Commission. So if that's done, then that issue gets resolved.
Speaking of the Commission, which was a centre of controversy in the discussion on the Port City Bill, Vikramaratne said that at least 6 members of the Commission should be ex officio.
The second major issue there is that the composition of the commissioners. So if you were looking at it like a company, just for explanation purposes, it's like who owns the shares and who are the directors. So who are the commissioners? And the bill still has it, right, that the president will be appointing 5 to 7 commissioners. So one person is appointing everybody. So there are no checks and balances, because earlier we had the Constitutional Council, which basically took the president's recommendations and checked whether the people were fit and proper. That mechanism has been removed with the 20th Amendment. And now we have a parliamentary council which only can express its opinions to the president. It can't basically, there's no other power, it's a bit toothless. So the president will be appointing these 5 to 7 members. Now that is not satisfactory, because this project, to get the benefits, it will take 30 to 40 years. So this is long term. Presidents will come and go. Right? The present president is, will soon get to 2 years and probably have another two years or whatever. Yeah. And then governments will change, presidents will change. So we have to look at this from the country's perspective, you see, in this. And therefore, we are proposing another amendment, like we are proposing on the who owns the basically the commission. We are proposing another one who sits on the commission, who are the commissioners or the directors, that there are at least 6 ex officio members, right? And then, of course, the political authority can appoint 3 people. Whether the president appoints, the prime minister appoints, or ministers appoint, they have become political appointments, so we are suggesting that they be limited to 3. But by office, ex officio, the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance, the Governor of the Central Bank, the head of the UDA, the head of the Central Environmental Authority, the head of the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and so forth, become some of the ex officio members.
I want to get into the bill. I want to get your take on the bill as well. But what you're trying to say is the fact that if something doesn't work, we can change it down the line. It's not like ironclad, and once the bill passed, it's never going to.
Absolutely, the bill has to evolve, and this is only a framework. There should be regulations further drafted, and these regulations should be market driven. So bill will evolve, as in many cases you see in rest of the region.
However, JVP Politburo member Wasantha Samarasinha, who was also a petitioner against the bill, said that the country should be vigilant about the implementation of the recommendation issued by the court's determination, and that most importantly, there is a need to have a collective discourse about the matter. He further said that the government should not try to hastily pass the bill, especially due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. He opined.
අධිකරණයේ කාර්යභාරය ඉටු කරලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි අධිකරණයට ගරු නොකරන පාලකයෝ තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ. ඉතිහාසෙත් ඒක ඔප්පු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ කියන්නේ මේගොල්ලෝ මේ අධිකරණ තීරණයට ගරු කරයි කියලා අපිට විශ්වාසයක් නැහැ. අන්තිම අවස්ථාව හරි පාවිච්චි කළ අධිකරණයට ගියේ නැත්නම් මේ පනත සම්මත වෙනවා. සම්මත වුණා නම් බරපතල ප්‍රශ්න.
Well, interesting points raised by all parties. Now, the bill is indeed in the government's court after getting their way in Parliament. Now, the task lies in making this project a success. Will this project finally be Sri Lanka's catalyst to prosperity? Only time can answer that question. Well, thank you for taking the time to join me as we investigated the progress of the port city and its recent bill. I'll be back again next Sunday with another episode of Other Derana and the Morning Investigates, where we will do another investigation about key matters that's affecting all of us. Showbiz Tonight is up next. Thank you for joining. Stay positive, test negative, and have a good night.